Okay, I hope this video finds everybody doing well. And in this video, we're going to talk about World War II. Now, one of the key things to understand is people will have spent their entire career, their entire life discussing, analyzing, exploring World War II. Okay, and so your book does it in a scant few pages. And so just kind of understand that to truly grasp it and to truly get it, it takes a serious, complete study to do so. Okay, which is what you're not going to get here. So just kind of keep that in mind, right? Now, the main issue is trying to grasp the scale of the event that was World War II. And we we use this term World War, and we use it really kind of rather loosely without fully grasping the very scale of its impact, of the outcomes, and of the various events that are going to unfold from World War II. Okay? And when we look at that generation, there's almost not an American that is untouched by the war. I mean, I'm sure there's a few out there somewhere, but for the most part, almost every American was affected or impacted by the war in some way or social force or direct involvement. Okay, meaning somebody's daddy, somebody's brother, somebody's uncle, somebody's mother, all directly impacted by all these things that are going to happen. Okay, and that's big. Like that's massively big, particularly when you compare it against today. And when you look at how we fight our wars today. Okay, now back then it was not uncommon for young men from almost every town across the country to go and either voluntarily join or get drafted and go fight and go kill people. Right? Today, it's the exact opposite because you have an all volunteer force where people just raise their right hand and say, "Yep, I'll go do it. Pick me," and they volunteer. Right? It's literally called an all volunteer force. And so, at one point where everyone did it, it's now less than half of a percent that does it. Okay? Um, and when you have that much burden being carried by that tiny, tiny, tiny a section of the um, populace, then that's kind of a strange deal. It's kind of a disconnect. Okay? But we can talk about that a different time. Um, so World War II, right? A whole host of reasons. Main thing, obviously, is German aggression. Germany fires up the war machine, and they roll into France, they roll into Austria, they roll into Poland, and they do all these various different things strictly because of the will of Adolf Hitler. Okay? And that is not something to be underestimated. Man thinks he can do it, and he's certain that no one's going to stop him, so he does it, right? Now, as I've said before in class, it's all fun and games until tanks are rolling down the main street, right? And this is exactly what you see with World War One. Okay. Now, of course, you got the breakdown of World War Two. Sorry. Of course, you got the breakdown of the war being fought in several different theaters. Of course, it's fought in Northern Africa. It's fought in Italy. It's fought in Europe. It's fought in the Pacific. And each one of those campaigns has its own specific challenges and its own specific nuance. Okay? But kind of, when you look at most of them, most people kind of focus on Europe because it's like the bastion of civilization. Okay? All the cathedrals are there, all the churches are there, all the history is there. And when you look at all the money and all the influence, it's also there as well. Okay? Now, um, 1939, Hitler rolls through Poland. This is after having set up a non-aggression pact with Russia, and they roll through everybody else like it's nothing. Okay? They use a different type of warfare, really maneuver warfare, but they call it blitzkrieg, lightning war. And what it is you've got troops, guys on the ground, supported by tanks, by vehicles, by aircraft and artillery, and also supported by logistics, okay, which is kind of the key big thing. And so the faster these guys can attack and the further they can go, the less restraints that someone can place on them. Okay? And it's kind of a war that people are not used to it whatsoever, right? And there is some credit given to the German generals at the time of really kind of changing the fundamentals of war and bringing it into maneuver warfare, particularly for transition between the second and third gen. Okay, really, what you will see with World War II is it's the main key event for second generation warfare, and then third generation warfare is what we're going to see in Korea and Vietnam. Okay, but those two events trace their roots back to World War II. Okay, so you got the Axis of the Allies, and then essentially what you have is good guys versus bad guys, right? And the real issue is who are we willing to make a deal with in order to bring this thing to an end, okay? Now you got, of course, a couple key individuals involved. You've got Adolf Hitler in Germany. You've got Stalin in Russia. You've got Roosevelt in the United States. You've got Churchill in England, and then you've got the one idiot, Il Duce. Mussolini. You got Mussolini, who's in Italy, kind of riding on the coattails. Now, you also have Emperor Hirohito in Japan, but he's really just kind of a moron who has let his country been taken over by army generals. Okay? And the army generals are driving the train in Japan, not Hirohito. I mean, Hirohito's like 85 pounds and like a nerd, right? And all these army generals are like destroying him. All right. So, Germany, sorry. So Germany fires up the war machine, rolls over through everyone in Europe, stops in France, rolls through France, stops right before he gets to Dunkirk. He stops, he lets the Brits escape, right? And then just sort of sits there, the world kind of trembles. Okay? The speed and veracity with which this happened is really shocking and strange, okay? Because people hadn't seen wars fought like that. Now, while that's going on, Roosevelt's watching from the sidelines. And Roosevelt does not want to get involved. Roosevelt wants to stay out of it because he doesn't see the value in fighting a protracted war. Sorry. All right. And he's just being kind of practical. Now, ultimately, Roosevelt realizes that he's going to have to get involved in some shape or form. Okay. Now, as the Brits are getting crushed, they are they're hurting and they're running out of money. Like their country is physically running out of money. And so Roosevelt, because of that kindred spirit, that kindred nature, he feels a strong desire to help them out. Okay, and this is when he's going to sign the Lend-Lease Act. And so Roosevelt will give them money. He'll give them guns. He'll give them planes. He'll give them boats. He'll give them ships. all this manner of gear and equipment and money, big thing, and he'll do so under the premise of it's just like a loan, okay? Which in that point is kind of a legal loophole, and he's trying to be neutral, but it's not really working out too good, okay? So eventually, sorry, eventually the U.S. is going to get pulled into the war, and that will happen via Japan attacking Pearl Harbor. Okay. Now, excuse me. I talked a little bit briefly about. Sorry. Talked a little bit briefly about Japan and their desire to take over the Pacific and their desire to fight China to a standstill, right, and win against China. Well, Roosevelt realized that war was coming in the Pacific, just like he realized it was coming in Europe as well. And in his mind, if war cooks off, and if we get attacked, that might not be the worst thing because that brings us into the war, right? And it brings us into the war on a moral footing. Okay, well, what do I mean by that? Well, it's it's one thing to go fire up the American war machine and go invade some country for oil or whatever, and be seen as an American hero and doing the right thing, right? That's that's where you know you're doing the right thing for some corporation. However, if you get attacked, and if over 3,000 Americans are killed, and you're simply there to end tyranny as it's going on in the world, then you can probably sleep at night, right? I mean, you can go chop heads in the daytime and then go to sleep at night knowing that you did your part, right, and kind of doing the right thing and saving American lives by bringing the war to an end, okay? Um, and that's the real issue is what are Americans going to do, and are we going to be willing to pay the price that has to be paid in order to end this thing? Okay, and that's a really big key distinction that you have to understand. Okay, if you're sitting there in Pawtucket, Iowa, and you're a mailman, and you get your little Western Union telegram thing that says report to such and such Moose Lodge for induction in the United States Army, right? You go from mailman or mechanic or school teacher, and you go to infantry guy, tank guy, artillery guy, right? And you go pull triggers on people. And it's kind of a shocking deal to the senses, right? To do that and have an entire generation go through that transformation. Okay? Now, when those young men begin to get slaughtered, that's when the price begins to get paid. Okay? And I mentioned it before in my previous video, hard times make hard people. And this is especially the case for World War II, right? Like, don't get me wrong, depression is pretty tough and depression is pretty bad. But compared to the blood of World War II, there wasn't nothing to it. Right? All right. So I think we'll make one more video about World War II. This will be part one. I'll make one more part two. And then I'll see you guys on Thursday for Google Hangout. So, hope you guys have a great day. If you have any questions or anything, just let me know. Bye.